the visceral chance for change. Yet even as dictators use an iron fist to crush the revolutions of this so-called Arab Spring, the events of the Middle East are proving to be as momentous as the fall of the Soviet Union and collapse of communism. In Egypt, Yemen, Tunisia, and elsewhere, it is remarkable because of the direction it has taken. For decades, the West has been concerned that Islamist groups would overthrow the governments. At first glance, this grassroots revolution, which is sweeping the Arab world, toppling or challenging long-term leaders, appears to have been inspired by the global media and by talk of democracy. Yet beneath the surface, it appears that democracy will forever elude the Arab world, and what we are really seeing is a return to the old ways and the old divisions. It has exposed the frailty of the post-colonial artificial borders of the states of the Middle East, and manifests a return to tribalism and ethnic fragmentation that could eventually redraw the cartography of the region.
I foresee that the borders, which were the basics of the Middle Eastern order in the past almost century, since the collapse of the Ottoman Empire, will be redrawn. Mainly because certain states were not really ethnically or strongly politically united, but comprised of different tribes or different ethnic groups fighting for their autonomy or fighting for power, would eventually separate.
We have already seen this process in Iraq, with Kurdistan gaining quasi-independence, and then it came to South Sudan, the newest of the world's 200 countries. Libya has ruptured. Ironically, globalization could have the contrary effect.
It's easier to solidify your identity, or to create your identity with people who live next to you and not with people who share some cultural affinity and so on, rather than with this artificial nation state that was there several decades and no more than that.
Take a look at a map of the region and you'll notice suspiciously straight lines. This was a product of the division of the Ottoman Empire by the British and French diplomats Sykes-Picot, almost a century ago during the First World War.
It took the names of the British and French foreign ministers who signed the treaty between them to divide the Arab world in what they thought will be manageable. So they had to cut them in small pieces to manage them, divide and rule. So what we're talking about here is artificial borders.
When the Second World War ended, there were just 100 independent countries on Earth. Today, there are about 200, probably the most at any time in centuries. But some historians are predicting that the number of states will grow to about 300 in the coming decades.
The nation-state idea, just like in Eastern and Central Europe, was brought to the Middle East after the First World War. With the breakup of the pre-existing order, new nations will come to the fore.
Artificial states like Libya, made up of 3 Italian colonies, and Yemen, Syria, Jordan, Bahrain, Oman, and Saudi Arabia could all disintegrate. And once it starts, no telling where it will end.
It will be a fiasco because actually once the breakup starts to take place, it will have a domino effect. Everybody will want to have a state. And this is what a lot of people are afraid of, the Balkanization which will take place in the Arab world.
You can carve up Syria into different tribal nations. Even if Syria is not carved, if Assad falls, we'll see more and more demands for sort of ethnic or tribal autonomies. And why not? I mean, I don't see the counterforce, besides, you know, the West and everybody else trying to keep things the way they were. But I'm not sure that this is, that it's worth protecting.
Tribalism, by the way, was used by the totalitarian regimes of the Arabs when they come to frighten those who are living inside the Arab countries and who are living outside the Arab countries. And they spoke about if you let these uprisings succeed, those uprisings will lead to bring radical organizations to power in these countries.
But is this just alarmist? Could it be that the next generation is seeking to live in a country which is based not on stale Arabism built on nationalist intention, but something based on globalization. And what about the most democratized nations of the Middle East, the Palestinians and the Israelis?
To this day, Israel is sort of an island of calm in the midst of a huge, fast-revolving storm. The struggle for a Palestinian state is gearing up, with the active support of the Europeans and perhaps Barack Obama too. Will they be able to impose it upon Israel in the summer? Will the West try and join them in pressuring Israel to make its own donation to the Middle Eastern change by giving the West Bank to a Palestinian state? To this day, the Israeli reaction has been different. It's been entrenching. In other words, not to move an inch, or the right-wing mantra that, this proves that you should not sign any peace deals because you sign it with a regime that tomorrow morning might not be there, and probably will not be there.
The present border system is clearly not sustainable, but Dajani believes that nothing is irreversible.
So if people want to split in order to experience what it means, let them split. If they want to unite again, let them unite again. Why not give people a choice? This is what is one of the core of democracy, of the democratic experience, is giving people a choice.
This is Aryeh O'Sullivan reporting for the Media Line.